Joining us tonight, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Senator, always good to have you with us on the Ed Show. I want you to respond, Senator, to that comment that was made by that analyst, that fear in the marketplace. Is it fear in the marketplace? What can be done to stop this out-of-control speculation?
Well, Ed, as I'm sure you know, the price of gasoline at the pump has gone up by more than $1 a gallon in the last 5 years. And yet there is more supply today than there was 5 years ago and less demand. So if you had a normal functioning market with supply and demand, the price should go down. What the oil companies always do is if it rains, they raise prices. If it snows, they raise prices. If it's sunny, they raise prices. If there's disturbance any place around the world, they raise prices. The fact of the matter is ExxonMobil made $9 billion in profits the first quarter of this year. But the real story is that the oil futures market is not controlled by people who actually use oil. It's controlled by Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and other Wall Street speculators. And their function, Ed, needless to say, is to make as much money as they can by speculating. And what we have heard is various estimates as to how much more we are paying, whether it's 40, 50, 60 cents a gallon of gas because of that speculation. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's no question that oil speculation by Wall Street has driven up oil prices very significantly.
Well, Senator, you introduced a bill in the Senate last year that is similar to the one that failed in Congress in 2008. Would that be a game changer? Would your bill change things?
Well, right now, what we have seen in recent years is that the percentage of the oil futures market controlled by Wall Street has soared. We think that it is about 70 to 80% of the market now controlled by Wall Street, not people like airlines or trucking companies or oil fuel dealers who actually use the oil, but Wall Street, which is speculating on it. What our legislation does, and it now has 20 co-sponsors in the Senate, it's been introduced in the House. What our legislation does is break up the amount of control that any one company can have. And that would, in my view, drive speculation down significantly and result in lower prices at the gas pump.
Well, what part does speculation play in the conservative push for domestic oil production? I mean, it's a rather convoluted formula here that we're seeing unfold.
Well, I think you raise a very, very important issue. Ed, you know, for those people who say, well, look, we need to produce more and more oil because the more supply we have, the lower the cost will be to the consumer. Sadly, that's just not the case. Once again, we have seen in the last 5 years a $1 increase in a gallon of gas at the pump at the same time as we have more supply today than we did 5 years ago and less demand than we have 5 years ago. So I think what you have now is two giant entities that are ripping off the consumer, and that is the oil companies, ExxonMobil and the others, who are making huge profits, and at the same time, Wall Street speculators on the oil futures market. Right now, my target is to break up the amount of oil that any one entity could hold that would drive down speculation, lower oil prices and gas prices.
Finally, any Republicans on board with this? Are your 20 co-sponsors early on?
No, we have 19 Democrats and myself an independent. But I would hope, especially as people do more driving during the summer, that the pressure builds on Congress to do something about these outrageously high gas prices.
Yeah, well, they're using Iraq to do all of this and what they say, the uncertainty in the Middle East, yet we're pumping more oil than we ever have. Senator Bernie Sanders, great to have you with us tonight, sir. Thanks so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking somebody should write a book. Somebody should write a book about all the excuses that the oil companies give for raising prices. It'd be a very funny book.
It would be a very funny book. And they also ought to put a chapter in there as to why BP isn't paying for the damage that they did in the Gulf, which is another story we'll bring you back on. Thank you, Senator. Appreciate your time tonight. Still ahead, it's time.